very soon after the 76ers were knocked out of the playoffs by the Knicks, the 76ers ownership announced that the president, Daryl Morey, was fired from the organization. After 6 seasons, this was one of the firings that probably made the most sense to me in the NBA. And I'm not here to say or wish upon any person losing their job, but after so much controversy that Daryl Morey had in the last 6 seasons, a lot of clashing with his players, a lot of bad contracts that were signed with the 76ers, and a lot of overall bad decisions that were made, I can't help but think that this is the move that made the most sense for the 76ers if they truly think that they're that close to competing for a championship. Now, if you're the 76ers ownership, this is what you do. You brought in Bob Myers at the beginning of last year to be an advisor, and he is going to be in the hunt to replace the president of the basketball operations. Now, if I'm the 76ers, I tell Bob Myers, you build the team that you think is best for this organization. Not go hunt for somebody that can build a team. You build it. Let me remind you, Bob Myers was the mastermind GM that put together the Golden State Warriors during the time where they had the dominance in the Steph Curry era. So if there's a person out there that knows how to build a good basketball team and a good winning organization, that's going to be Bob Myers for the 76ers.
We are still months away from the beginning of the college football season, and already Lane Kiffin is drawing up some controversy by apologizing. Ugh, what a weak man he is. For things that he said, stuffing things about Ole Miss. Well, I can't say it any more than the next person. I can't wait to get the college football season started. Let's get this rolling.
Look at the box scores.
Box scores.
Bloomberg.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
Baseball. Box scores.
Football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box scores and bourbon.
We're 7 weeks into the 2026 MLB season. And while there's been plenty of excitement and head scratching on the diamond, it's the off-field, behind-the-scenes discussions on the future of MLB that have taken the baby steps toward what inevitably seems to be a lockout after this season. The two sides, both the union and the MLB and the league, have recently made opening presentations to one another, but it could be a slow, long, drawn-out process where the real negotiations most likely will not begin until December. While the league has not actually said they will propose both a salary cap and floor, it is very probable it will be the main topic of discussion. Rob Manfred, or how he's affectionately referred to in my home, Bobby Manchild, has been on record saying that the league is first trying to energize the workforce in the hopes that it will get the union to quote-unquote supportive of the idea that maybe change in the system could be good for everybody. This is not the first time a cap has been brought up in CBA negotiations, but the difference this time is just how much is being spent. Primarily the LA Dodgers, of the back-to-back World Series champions. But if the call to arms for the cap is if the call to arms for the cap is going to be because of the sky-high spending, then explain the likes of the Mets, the Phillies, and the Blue Jays. While the Phillies have experienced a recent resurgence, a climb back toward hopefully 500, both the Mets and Blue Jays have completely fallen off the map. So much for my preseason predictions thus far. And while MLB revenues eclipsed $12 billion two seasons ago, the rule changes have increased all-around popularity. And of course, Shohei, the unicorn himself, playing on the biggest stage 2 seasons in a row, has done nothing but command worldwide attention. There is, I think, one advantage point that the league has over the union. The union is very much in a state of flux and uncertainty, especially in the leadership department, given both the investigation into misuse of finances and assets, as well as the ouster of Tony Clark after revelations of him having inappropriate relationships. The pickle in the jar, Tony. This could very much be the opportunity the league has been looking for in order to force the MLBA into doing something they've refused to do. Leave player money on the table. Manny, welcome back to another episode.
Welcome back, JB.
Start here.
Happy. Cheers.
Clink, clink.
Cheers, everyone. Clink, clink. Happy Hump Day, JB.
Happy Hump Day. Yes. Wow. Wait, I'm blown away. We have sound effects now. This is incredible. I love it. Yeah.
We are here on a Wednesday as per new episode
Yes.
launches.
Our new rotation is
Mhm.
new full-length episodes with both the Manster and myself. Yours truly, JB, is going to be on Wednesdays moving forward, which means you have an extra day at the end of the week to catch up on your favorite Box Scores and Bourbon podcast, which can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. See what a segue I did there? With additional content at BSB Sports 24 on the TikTok, the X, and the Instagram. Now, Manny, before we move forward, we're going to talk about some baseball. We're 7 weeks into the season, like I said. We're going to talk about some baseball. We haven't done that in a minute. And then we're going to do a recap of where we stand so far in both the NBA and NHL playoffs. But I do want to say off the top, I'm still vehemently against a salary cap. I don't see how that's going to solve anything. A salary floor, absolutely.
Sure.
That won't solve all the issues. But if it's the players that want more money, have more teams actually have to spend a minimum.
Yeah.
And that will absolutely, I think, and so do most people, increase the competitive balance in Major League Baseball. If you force teams to spend, I don't know, at least $100 million, it's not a lot for billionaire owners to sit there and say, "Hey, this thing I've invested into, let me see what happens if I just, throw a little bit of cheddar at it."
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're in a deja vu because this is not the first time that we've talked about the salary cap versus the salary floor. But of course, in the year that we are headed towards these negotiations, it is the talking point that both sides are having, whether they want to put a cap or a floor on this spending. The biggest thing that we have to, or the teams and the organizations have to realize is, and even the players, what is it that you truly want to get out of your product? Because the players are arguing for the most money they can get, rightfully so. They're the best in the world at what they do, and when you get comfortable to a certain life and a certain paycheck, you're not going to say give me less, but you have to also acknowledge, do you want to earn your money or do you want to win championships? There has to be a little bit of compromise there. If you're going to just put out an entertainment product out there, sure, get all the money you want, but just don't be complaining that there's not a good team out there, or there's not good a competition on the other side, or that their teams aren't competing thoroughly. But if you want to win championships, there has to be some reflecting on the player side that says, okay, maybe if the goal is to win, we can't hog the entire pot of money, and we have to, and there has to be some middle ground that we can find with the owners where they can spend, or they can they could be mandated to spend at a certain amount without necessarily impacting us too much. Of course, it's going to be a hard thing to figure out. You said 100 million cap floor, or cap floor. It's that, even then, that seems a little bit low considering how much some of these players are making. But you have to start somewhere. As negotiations go, maybe do a like a 2-3 year collective bargaining deal where it's just like temporary, and you reassess and slowly increase it so that the brackets compared to what the teams are bringing in kind of off balance a little bit. But there has to be some compromise on both sides. But like any negotiation, both sides want everything they want, and they don't want to compromise. But that's why you negotiate. I'm intrigued to see how this is going, because the season as it is right now, there's not necessarily too much traction going on with this negotiation. They're just playing the season, but it's going to come around the corner very quickly. We're just 2 weeks away from June, and that's almost halfway through the season. Like this season is going to fly by for them, and you can't just look the other way because the product is already on the field. This has to be currently in negotiations and making good progress because winter meetings are just around the corner if you really look at the baseball calendar.
Yeah, it's 13 May, but the current CBA is set to expire 1 December
Mm-hmm.
2026.
Yep.
What's interesting is the last time that both sides shared um, their financials with one another. I believe it was the union that started to share their financials in May, with opening discussions beginning in April. This was in
Mm-hmm.
2021. Now we're already in the middle of May. They just made initial introductions, kind of just exploratory discussions. No finances or really of any substance being discussed. It is. I mean, this is already hyped up to be a very very um, uh, a, like contentious a CBA negotiation, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's going to be surprised. And it just sucks because, like I said, MLB has finally they have 30 it was 2 years ago that they eclipsed $12 billion, and that of course is 30 years after the last real lockout MLB had was that 94-95 season, which
Yep.
almost just ruined the entire sport. And it wasn't until the summer of '98 when we have Sosa, McGuire, the chase for Maris, and then them just hitting dinger after dinger that saved the sport.
Yep.
And because of that, MLB was able to slowly make their way back
Mm-hmm.
to relevance, and of course, it does make it is poetic in some sense, because you look at 94-95, the lockout happens, 98 happens, the Sosa, McGuire, and then of course you have the Yankees during that same time period, who were just the evil empire, and all the money that they would spend, which is just pennies compared to what teams are spending today. But they would buy everybody. What do? They won. They won championships, and
Mm-hmm.
and so now you fast forward to now, and what do we have? We have another evil empire with the LA Dodgers spending oodles of money beginning in 24. And what have they done since 24? They've won back-to-back World Series championships. And it doesn't it look, if I'm the league, I'm not going to sit here and try to spit in the face of all the revenue that MLB has made. Yes, you have to spend more money in order to bring in the players that you want. But let's be honest, it's only really like 5 teams that are doing it. It's
Yeah.
the Dodgers, it's the Yankees, it's the Phillies, it's the Mets, now it's the Blue Jays. Like, they're the ones spending the money. I mean, like, and no one else is going to. I mean, they're not sitting there crying.
No.
They got to spend the money in order to bring in the players.
Yep.
It's their money. They're going to spend it. They want to win championships.
Yeah.
So
And I don't want to hear this BS about the Yankees buying championships in the 90s, because we are seeing live and in action currently that just because you're buying players and outbidding other teams for players doesn't mean that the success is by default. You just mentioned some of the teams that are spending the most. 2 of those teams are at the bottom of the barrel and in the
Exactly.
basement of the
Yeah.
league. The Mets decided that they're going to Met in May instead of Met in the September. Like the
Yeah.
Mets met it in May is like the new thing for them, because they're at the literally at the bottom of the league right now, and they have one of the highest payrolls for their players.
Yep. Yeah.
So
and
that's
that's the reason I brought it up, is that if you're going to sit there and say, "Oh no, look, the league is ruined by all these teams spending so much," really? Because all the teams that are the top 5 teams that have spent, only 2 of them, if the season ends today, would make the playoffs. And that's the Dodgers and the Yankees, and they would only make it as a wild card team. So I don't want to hear that that the owners have to spend too much money. It's only 5 owners that are doing it, and they seem perfectly okay with their mode of operation in order to try to get their teams to the finish line.
Yeah.
So to sit there and say 27 other owners are upset because 5 other owners are going to spend all this money when half of the league isn't even going to come close to trying to sign these marquee players to bring them in. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
What do we need? We don't need a salary cap. We don't need it. And this is absolutely Rob Manfred, Bobby Manchild. He is trying to make his mark to be the first commissioner since the union formed to say, look, I was able to bring in a salary cap. I did it, everybody. I was able to make the MLBPA bend to my whims and give the owners, my bosses, what they wanted.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Rob Manfred. Yeah, congratulations. All you did was suck up to your bosses. I don't know. I mean, where I come from, brown nosing, it's not a compliment, but it's so.
But it gets you far. It does get you far.
Apparently, it does. But that's going to be the interesting thing about this offseason is seeing just how much the MLBPA is willing to come together, because that's the other issue. Like I brought up, Tony Clark, he's ousted as the union leader. Bruce Myers, the interim. He's not even he's just the interim guy. And not only was, Tony Clark caught sticking his hands in the company, allegedly sticking his hands in the company cookie jar, he's also diddling his pickle, allegedly, into other staffers. So this is, it's going to be very interesting to me as much as I'm against having a salary cap in this league. That's what makes baseball so special, is that it does not have a cap. The owners are able to spend at whim to be able to bring to fruition whatever their idea or dream is for the roster they're trying to construct.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this: if you were a player, or really a part of these negotiations, because you're all about a salary floor, but you're completely against a salary cap. Would part of the negotiations, would you be okay with the salary floor if in exchange they had a salary cap, even if it was the most outrageous salary cap, just putting that on paper just to be able to get somewhere? Because I think that's the part of the problem, because I don't know that either side wants the other side.
One has to exist with the other. I think it's possible in order for it. If you increase the salary floor, okay? So imagine this. You have, let's say, I'm trying to think of the big free agent that's going to be on the market. Let's just pick Ian Happ, okay? Ian Happ's going to be on the market at the end of the season.
Screwball's on the market,
great
right?
year so far. So is Seiya Suzuki. Okay, so they're going to be on the open market, all right? Imagine if you had a salary cap, then that would mean that all the teams were only able to spend so much money. And that way, Ian Happ there's going to be money left on the table, okay? If you had a salary floor without a cap, say that, there's a team, say it's the Tampa Bay Rays or the Pittsburgh Pirates who never want to spend anything. Mm-hmm. Say, and it's between them and then one of the top 5 spenders. Say it's the Phillies. No, you know what? Say it's the Phillies. Say the Phillies like, hey, you know what? I want to bring in Ian Happ. We're willing to give you this much. Here come the Pirates and Rays. They have to get to $30 million spent in order to get to $100 million. You don't think that the competition for a star player is going to increase even without the cap, it's going to increase if you have a
Sure.
floor because these teams have to get there. And
Yeah.
every single year, more salaries coming off the books. It's not a static number. It fluctuates every year. Hell, the Cubs have, I think they have $68 million committed after this season. Like, so they're going to have to do a lot of work in order just to get to 100 million, which, I mean, hopefully, I mean, if the season, if there is a 2027 season, hopefully the Cubs do a lot more than spend $32 million to get to 100. But my point is that if I don't think a cap has to exist. Now, but what you're asking me is, because I want a floor so badly, would I be okay with the floor if the only way to get the floor is to have a salary cap?
Yep. What, 700 million for the each year or whatever? Because there's some players that they'll pay, what do they pay, like 80, 90 million if they're top dogs.
I don't know.
So I think that is the clashing point, because there's the two sides are in the same place that you are right now. One of them wants the salary floor, that's the players, and the salary cap. I'm sure some owners are the ones that are feeling that they want the salary cap.
The owners are the ones pushing for a floor and a cap. That's going to be their proposal. They're going to propose both the cap and the floor, and I think. And because it hasn't actually been explicitly mentioned yet by the league, I think that is where the union can come together and have their internal discussions, understanding fully, hey, this is what's coming. This is what's coming toward us. Mm-hmm. This is the tsunami, the 100-foot tsunami coming over Thailand right now. Let's prepare, okay? Let's have contingency plans for when they do ask us, for when the wave crashes on our entire city of rickshaws and shanties. Let's come together with a plan, a contingency.
What's your counter offer? Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I mean, here's the thing about the salary, this whole negotiations thing, that it is like the perfect year for this to be the bad year for this kind of thing to be happening, because I feel like the baseball world, Major League Baseball as a whole, has hit another stride towards popularity. Of course, it's one like the top sport in the country aside from NFL, and you can have the argument of which one's bigger or whatever. But they have made good strides as far as increasing the viewership. Players like Shohei and Aaron Judge and all these all-star players bringing all this viewership towards the MLB is the perfect time for you to not have a stoppage of play, because getting all that fan base back if you have a lockout is going to be not like the fans aren't going to instantly come back just because the lockout inevitably will end. This is going to be a lot of work in progress. It might take like 5 years to get back to the viewership that you had at the end of this season. And that's why I'm saying this is like the perfect year for this to not be convenient, because you have all these big name all-stars that are bringing so much of this viewership to your league, and you're just going to stomp the e-brake on any progress you're making towards building that viewership, and it's going to be a complete train wreck when you come out on the other side. It's almost amusing that they've been waiting so long to get this negotiation in place, because it's inevitable that this is going to happen, and it's the trickle down effects of having a lockout, and now if these negotiations don't go through, I think it's going to be a pretty major effects down the line with viewership, income, all these, like the network contracts, all this stuff is going to have a long-term impact. And I don't know that the league is ready for how much this is actually going to impact everything, not just the season that's going to start next year.
Well, no, they're not ready for it, because in sports like the NFL and the NBA, where there's a salary cap, it's a player-run league.
Yep.
The teams have almost zero control now, because now it's like, oh, well, the only control teams have is whether or not to cut player X or player Y in order to fall under the salary cap. And so the players hold all the cards. Now, and honestly, like if I'm and maybe I might be talking myself into the only way to get a floor is to have a cap, but if the owners pursue this too much, because because they don't want to spend too much money, or they're tired of escalating prices
Yep.
for these players. Well, okay, throw the baby out with the bathwater, because eventually you're going to lose control of the entire league. It's going to be a player league. And I
Yeah.
think in the short term, yes, the players will lose money, but I think in the long run, they'll actually gain a lot more. They will gain, I think, a lot more leverage in being able to decide what their contracts actually look like,
Yeah.
as opposed to having the team say, okay, this is what you're going to have. No, no, no. If I'm going to play for you, this is what I want in my contract. I
Yeah.
want this because I don't know what's going to happen after this season. I don't know
Yeah.
if you're going to sit there and say, because now if you have a salary cap, contracts, I mean, they may go away with fully guaranteed contracts now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if I'm a player, I don't want that. It's the only sport where every contract's fully guaranteed. What you see on paper is what you're getting. What you report on the ticker on Sports Center, that's what the player got. There's
Yeah.
no like having to play fungo magic with it and try to figure out what's going to make me look better or what's going to make my agent look better. No, this is what I got.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be bad for both sides.
Sure.
I think this is going to be worse for the owners in the long run if they do this, just because it honestly, the top 5 spending owners need to speak up about this. They can't be the ones that are upset that they're spending all this money, because there is no salary cap and they're still spending the money. They have no qualms with spending the money. You think the Dodgers care that they have a $400 million payroll? No, they don't care. They're back-to-back World Series champions, and all the money they have is deferred anyway. So they're just kicking the can down the road as it is. I mean, Steve Cohen doesn't mind, even though the Mets keep metting earlier and earlier in the season. The Phillies, like I said, are just too old, but they're coming back. The Blue Jays, they have big market aspirations and are doing everything they can. I think, and of course the Yankees are the Yankees. They keep, little Steinbrenner keeps going back and forth about what he actually wants to do with the freaking franchise. But I think the big spending owners need to actually come out and say, hey, look, I don't mind spending this money. Okay?
Yeah.
If these jokers behind us want to spend money, then put a salary floor in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here's the last thing that I'll say about this cap situation. I truly do think the cap ceiling is more being driven by the top players in the league, the players that are going to go out there and get $500 million contracts over the span of whatever. Like, this is not a middle tier, lower tier baseball player issue, because if anything, the floor and the cap that helps the lower tier players make more money, brings them up to on the contract negotiations, because teams will be forced to give them bigger contracts. But those top players, the all-stars, the Aaron Judges, the Shoheis, all those players, they're the ones that have the biggest impact negatively by the ceiling, because they can't no longer go onto the table asking for $100 million a year or whatever. And I'm exaggerating numbers just for the sake of the argument, but they can't go to the table asking for that outrageous number, because teams are going to say, well, we can't afford you and a full roster. You're going to take a third of our salary. We can't do that. So those are the players I think have the biggest issue with these negotiations when it comes to salary caps.
Yeah, and honestly, if this will be the last thing I say, and then we'll move on to baseball. If Avalanche just scored, they pulled it in 3-2. Nice. All right, let's go. Come on, close it out. Anyway, so here's what the players and the agents can do if the salary cap actually becomes a reality. So if you're going to sit there and say, okay, you can, all right, so we only have this much money. We can only give you this much. We can defer this much. But to have the agent say, okay, well then, why don't you throw in a percentage of the team?
Right.
There are. I'm almost certain there can be ways around this.
I'm sure they can implement bonuses, signing bonuses like the NFL. No percentages of teams ever going to happen.
There's so much that and that's why I'm saying right now the union needs to come together. The players need to come together. Not Bruce Meyer. Bruce Meyer should not be involved in any of these discussions. The players, the head of the players union, like of all the players, they
Mm-hmm.
should come together. Each rep from each team should come together and they should begin having their own internal discussions. Okay, here's the tsunami. Here's the shanty towns that are about to be destroyed. What are our contingencies? What are we
Right.
going to do about it? This
Yeah.
is what we want. This is how we want to get it. If they do this, and then, I mean, I'm sure discussions are already coming back about how to push back, but it can't just be pushed back. It has to be a counter. You have to counter
Of course.
with something.
Not to say
Because
no.
if a cap did not work back in the 90s when players were making $1, and then now the contracts are just so exorbitant now just because of the value of contracts, there's no way that the players can just say, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Because you need to have,
What else you got?
You need to come up with a counter.
Yeah.
You need it has to happen.
Of
And
course.
what they need to do is before the league comes out and says, okay, we are formally asking for this, the players need to get out in front and say, this is what we're going to demand.
Yeah.
That
Agreed.
needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that again, part of negotiations, both sides are going to be stubborn a little bit. Eventually, somebody's going to have to fold and somebody's going to have to compromise and not get everything they want. Both sides shouldn't get exactly what they want. But that is the nature of bargaining agreements. But we are not here just to talk about offseason stuff, JP. We are here to check in on baseball, the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
If my math is not incorrect, as of right now, we're probably about a third of the season into Major League Baseball. And there is, how do I say this? Some question marks up and down the rankings currently. I have a lot of questions about a lot of these teams, especially the Mets. And somehow I'm looking at the Athletics as some division leader and the Rays and the Yankees. The Dodgers have me raising a lot of questions. Let's talk about where the league is currently and where these standings are right now. One, can we agree that the Braves are easily, and not just because of their record, the Braves are easily the best team in baseball right now?
Yeah, we're gonna have to because they still have Game 3 tomorrow, but they just clinched the series against the one team that had 2 10-game winning streaks and a 15-game home winning streak before the end of May, and that is my beloved Chicago Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cubs offense has been cold. The Cubs offense has no answer for the rookie rotation that Atlanta is throwing out there. And Chris Sale is pitching tomorrow. So this is wow, the Avalanche just tied it with an empty net.
Nice.
Yes. Let's go.
Yeah, I love hearing you
go.
cheer for my team.
Let's go. Oh, and they're
With a
playing
minute
Colorado,
left
too.
in
That
the
place
third.
is
Nice.
right now.
Just close out the
man.
series. I don't want this wild series to drag out. Just
Come
close
on,
it out.
Colorado.
Close out
Let's
the
do
series.
this.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
no,
anyways.
so the Braves are easily the best team in baseball right now. They're the first to win. They're the first to 30. They have the highest amount of runs scored in the entire league. There is a team I want to bring up. Okay, I want to bring up a certain team because I don't think many people are talking about this team, and that's the Washington Nationals.
Okay.
The Washington Nationals.
I'm listening.
Okay, so the Washington Nationals have the second most runs scored in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Two behind the Atlanta Braves. They have
Mhm.
235 runs scored, but they are -6 in the run differential department, which means their pitching is just god awful. So, but there are two players, that are leading the way when it comes to just having absolutely fantastic seasons. One is CJ Abrams, okay? He's got 9 homers, 7 stolen bases. He's got close to a 400 OPB. He's hitting almost 300 right now with a 930 OPS. Okay. CJ Abrams. Oh, what happened there? Is just having absolutely monster season. And of course, James Wood. Now, he's not lighting the world on fire in his batting average, but the dude is an absolute monster on the base pass. He's got 12 jacks. He almost has a double-double homer stolen base ratio. This is a team that if the Nationals can get some pitching, this is a team that could actually make a run for a playoff. And, and what's interesting is that when you look at the wild card right now, the Nationals are 3.5 back out of the current last wild card team, which is the LA Dodgers. So they are, if the season, and this is what's nuts, okay? I'm going to go through, if the season ended today, here would be the top 6 teams in the playoffs in each league. Division winners for the National League would be the Braves, the Cubs, and the Padres.
Yep.
The wild card teams in order would be the Cardinals, the Brewers, and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Freaking Cardinals. In the American League, this is where it gets the most interesting. The Rays would win the East. Cleveland would win the Central. And the freaking Vagrant Athletics would win the West. They would win the West.
Yes,
with the Yankees, White Sox, and Mariners being the teams making it as wild cards.
The White Sox Athletics in a playoff conversation is not something that I thought I would hear in my lifetime.
Especially after 2 years ago. This is nuts.
The White Sox literally broke the record for most losses.
The White Sox they have a pathetic offense.
They do.
They have a negative 12 in the run differential department.
Yep.
It's not as if this team's blowing people away. But look, let's give it up for Chicago. Let's give it up for the Palos, because 2 years ago they set a record. Mm-hmm. Last year they got better.
But they were hinting at almost breaking their own rank. Yeah.
But now, May 13th, they were at 500. They were at 500. They're 3 back they're 3 back from leading the Central. Okay? And that's how bad the AL Central is. It's bad.
And they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. They're on fire right now.
And what's even crazier is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 teams with a 500 record or better in the American League. Every single team in the NL Central has a better than 500 record.
Yeah. Does that say more about the lack of competition in the American League, or is I know this is like the reality of the situation, but my brain can't even comprehend why this is actually where things are in baseball. The Central was always like the division where we're like, somebody's gonna win the division because somebody has to win the division. But they're looking better than the entire American League. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I honestly think it's just a matter of how the season is playing out now. And look, we're only 7 weeks in the season. It's still so early. It's incredibly early. I mean, the fact that the Tigers are 19-24 is just absolutely absurd to me. That they're last. They are last in the AL Central. It's absolutely absurd to me. Now, what does make sense to me is that the Red Sox are dead last because they're garbage.
Yeah.
But what's most surprising is that the Yankees, I mean, they're killing it offensively. They have a great pitching staff, and they're 2 games behind the Rays. It's ridiculous. This is reminiscent of last year when it was the Blue Jays that time who just went on this absurd run, and the Yankees but the Yankees were they were messing up all over the place. They couldn't hit, they couldn't pitch, but the Yankees are doing everything right, and they're still 2 games behind.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the Yankees are an interesting situation for me, and of course, I have a little bit of a bias with it when it comes to them because I always want to look at the bright side of what the team is doing. So here goes my bright side. The Yankees are killing it in their run differential. They're leading, besides the Braves, they're the next up on the run differential. But their batting is sporadic. They've depended a lot on home runs, which is never a good thing for any team to do. But I mean, they're hitting home runs. They don't necessarily get on base regularly. They just hit bombers, and of course, you call them the New York Bombers for a reason. So that's good. That's their thing. Their pitching is sporadic too, so it just makes you think, or it makes me think, that this is not necessarily a bad team, but there is a lot of questions as far as the overall construct of this team. The way that they're playing currently is not sustainable, in my opinion. They're relying on some sparks of flame of some players getting hot early on in the year, but the Yankees always do this. The Yankees always get hot early on, and then ask me again in June how the Yankees are doing, and they're probably going to be on a 15-game losing streak, and their pitching is going to be atrocious, and Aaron Judge is the only bright star in the roster. That's usually the expectation of the Yankees. So I'm not surprised that they are where they are, but it just almost makes it hard for me to pin exactly who they are, because depending on how you look at a situation, they are good, but they're also not that good. They've gone on some.
Yeah. And you're right. If you look under the hood, they're top 6 in batting average. It's Ben Rice, the only one hitting over 300. You got Belly, you got Judge, who's hitting 268, which I've been reliably informed isn't possible. He's always supposed to hit near 400 up until June. And then you have Jose Caballero, who just hit the IL, so they called up Anthony Volpe. And then you got Jazz Chisholm hitting at the Mendoza line, and Trent Grisham, 175. Hitting 175. He's in the top 6 of their batting of their qualified batting average in this lineup. And then, of course, Judge is leading the team with 16 jacks.
Yeah, but Rice is right behind him, which is why I'm saying, like, what the hell?
Rice is an incredible revelation for them. And Ben Rice he's in his prime now. He's 27. And it's not like this is coming out of nowhere. Last year, he put up monster numbers for most of the season, got cold. Maybe this has been Rice. Hey, you know what? Hey, I've arrived now.
There was some conversation that said, oh, look, you let Soto walk, and everybody thought you were crazy, but nobody knew that Rice, you had somebody that was way cheaper that was going to be just as productive. I'm just going to say, just talk to me in June, because I'm still skeptical about how the Yankees actually do. But talking about the statistics behind a team, I want to jump all the way to the National League. Of course, all our fans love us talking about this team, whether we're hating or loving them, the Dodgers.
Yes.
And my specific area that I want to discuss is Shohei doing this dual pitching batting thing. I'm starting to think that maybe this is not sustainable. I saw that the best season that he had batting was whenever he didn't pitch. And whenever he has pitched, his batting season has not been at all where you would expect it to be. I'm not thinking as much of a unicorn as we call Shohei. I don't think the type of game that he's playing is necessarily actually sustainable. He yesterday hit his first home run since April 26th or 29th. He went like a few weeks without hitting a home run, and he's pitching at a Cy Young winning level this year, but his batting is taking a huge hit as far as what the Dodgers or even all MLB fans are used to from somebody like Shohei. That, to me, is kind of a revelation for what Shohei can actually do. If they're asking Shohei to do too much on the mound and on the box, this to me is a pretty significant storyline that we're watching develop on its own with the Dodgers. And of course, the Dodgers are having some skids, and I'm not necessarily going to say I'm concerned about the way that the Dodgers are right now. We're in May, and I'm sure they'll figure it out, and they're not relying on Shohei for the offensive power strictly. but he is a big part of their offensive performance, and for that to be the case right now, it is something that I think deserves a little bit more attention than what it's getting.
Yeah, I'm actually not too concerned with Shohei. When you came in, when you're coming into this season, I think the biggest question mark was how his arm was going to hold up on the mound.
Yeah.
And the biggest source of contention is just the amount of time, the Shohei rule, how much time he gets in between innings. Right when he gets back on the bump, the amount of time he gets to still just warm up, and look, that's an issue all on its own that I think owners will probably sit there and say, okay, we need to address this at least. But if you're a Dodger fan, I'm not too concerned. This is obviously, he hasn't had the best numbers.
No.
The last 30 games. I mean, the last week has been probably very bad at the plate as opposed to just mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
The last 30, he was hitting 225 with a 363 OPB. He had over a 700 OPS. He had over 800 OPS in his last 15 games. But of course, the last week has just been almost non-existent. Now, what I will say is Shohei's looked great on the mound. He had 6 innings out the last time out. He had 7 innings the last time out. He's still pitching tonight. So this is against the Giants. So this, if I'm the Dodgers, I'm a Dodger fan. I'm not concerned about this. We all know what Shohei can produce at the plate. The biggest question mark was, can he sustain a full season on the mound? And so far, he is lights out on the mound. Absolute lights out. So
he's second on the team of qualified pitchers in ERA with the .97. That's I would say that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But there is a question deep down, I almost wonder if they're just letting him focus on more pitching because he wants to get more of like the Cy Young Award because that's probably the only award that he hasn't won. And they just like, oh, well, do whatever you want on the batting side. But I'm curious if the Dodgers keep playing how they're playing, which is not the dominant team that I was thinking they were going to be all year long. If they, once like the All-Star break comes, they start expanding how often he gets into the starting pitching rotation. If they give him longer breaks in between the pitching to help that offense get going, and they slow down his pitching starts or the innings that he's going for in a game, just to help the team out as a whole.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm gonna beat a dead horse here. This is honestly, I believe Shohei taking his time at the plate. No one has to worry about Shohei producing at the plate. No one has to. I think him being able to prove himself healthy enough to pitch a whole season as a starter in Dodger blue, I think that's what he's focused on. I think that's what the Dodgers are focused on.
Yep.
Making sure that he's healthy enough. Shohei will find his way at the plate. I am not concerned about that at all. It is May 13th. And I remember last year it was the opposite. Judge wouldn't hit below 400 all the way up to June, and then all of a sudden he starts hitting below 400. It's like, what's wrong with Aaron Judge? I don't know. He had 333 last year. What do you mean what's wrong with Aaron Judge? Nothing. Nothing's wrong with him. Nothing's wrong with Shohei either. Shohei's just fine. And the mere fact, and I just want to point to the greatness of Shohei Ohtani. The mere fact that this is just evidence that he will go down as the greatest baseball player of all time.
Ever?
It's without question.
Wow.
No one. Now look, he's got 41 career wins on the mound, but what he does on the mound is absolutely astounding. Even he's 41-22 in his career. He's got a sub-3 ERA. He's got what, 11 strikeouts, 12 strikeouts per 9 as a starter. and he's what? He's just a complete monster at the plate. I mean, a 50-50 guy, and we're going to sit here and say something's wrong with Shohei.
No, no, I didn't say something's wrong. I'm just
This
saying it's
just points.
concerning that
This points to the absolute monstrosity and unicorn that Shohei Ohtani is that we're going to sit here and say he's doing fantastic things on the mound, but at the plate, meh. We don't talk about this ever, about anyone, ever. This does not happen. Not since
well,
Babe Ruth. Not
the
since Babe
bar is
Ruth.
set
Babe
higher
Ruth
for
had to
players
stop
that have
pitching.
shown that.
The Yankees
The-
made him stop pitching. Like, imagine if Babe Ruth would have kept pitching. Would have had the Babe Ruth rule. He could have been able to go out. Actually, he wouldn't have. There was no rule at all. He's chugging a beer before he gets back on the mound, and then he's just slinging cheese at guys. Like, this is. He's an absolute unicorn, and we have to stop, and we have to absolutely just pay admiration to what we get to witness right now. We get to witness arguably the greatest player that's ever played this game, and we're going to sit here and say he's a little slow at the plate. Okay, all right. I'm sure he'll be just fine. If there's ever a player I'm never worried about, it's Shohei Ohtani. I'm never worried about him. Even
all right, you turn your.
He's still hitting 50 jacks. Oh yeah, my elbow's a little sore. I can't pitch this year, but I'll just hit 50 jacks and snag 50 bases. I'll just do that, no problem.
JB, I want you to turn your camera around. I know you have a Shohei Ohtani poster somewhere in your recording room. You're the biggest Shohei fan ever. You're not even a Dodgers fan.
I'm a baseball fan, and look, he plays for the Dodgers, and I can't stand it, but I can absolutely appreciate the greatness that I'm witnessing right now. And I thank my lucky stars. I thank the baseball gods every day that I get to sit here and witness Shohei Ohtani play baseball in my lifetime. And I'm not even on my last breath, I don't think. Am I? I don't know. But it's incredible to me that we get to have this conversation.
Do you specifically tune into Dodgers game whenever Shohei's pitching? Be honest. Be honest.
I will be honest about this. I just bought MLB the season package a few days ago because I absolutely did not want to give my money to ESPN, but then I found out I have no other recourse other than to do it. I went on GovX to see if I could buy a Cubs package, and I couldn't. And then I was going to go buy Marquee, but I'm like, I don't really care about Marquee. I want to watch all the baseball.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, all right, I'll give
You'll
my
pay.
money. I'll give my money.
Somehow, inevitably, you're gonna claim dual teams fandom, and you're gonna become a Dodgers fan because Shohei's gonna be there forever, and then in the background, Cubs.
It's never, ever, ever going to happen. I hated the Braves growing up, but you better believe when Greg Maddux was on the mound, I watched. Greg Maddux.
That's why I'm saying, how often do you tune into the Dodgers games just because Shohei is pitching? I feel like it's more often than you're willing to admit.
It's not. No, I mean it's as often as I can. Yeah, I will watch the game Shohei pitches. Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, we have 5 minutes left.
We do.
Let's give a brief 2-minute recap of the NBA. I'll give a 2-minute recap of the NHL.
All right. So in the NBA, the Thunder swept the Lakers. Surprise, surprise, the Lakers looked like a team that did not belong in the semifinals, and the Thunder looked like a team that is so well-rounded, they might only lose 1 or 2 games on their way to the NBA final championship. Now, the Timberwolves and Spurs is an interesting conversation to have about that series. I guess Wemby doesn't know that if you elbow somebody in the face, you're going to get kicked out of the game, and that's news to him. That's not a thing that he's been exposed to before. That, to me, was a story to be had. But when he's on the court, the Spurs looked like the better team. The Timberwolves got underneath the skin, and they stole a game. This series should have been over if it wasn't because Wemby got kicked out of that last game. The Knicks took care of the 76ers. This more is a testament to the fact that the 76ers took advantage of the Celtics collapse. Sure, the Knicks are on a hot streak as far as setting records for how their performances in the last 2 series. But I'm not too impressed with the outcome of that series. This is more, like I said, that's more about the 76ers taking advantage of the Celtics. So we can take it all the way back. Tune into the previous episodes when I crapped all over the Celtics. That has more to do with this than it does about the Knicks and the 76ers as a series. And then the Pistons and the Cavaliers, I guess it's a good series because they're tied 2-2 and currently they're in overtime. And the Cavaliers look like they're going to take the Game 5 lead. This is just one of those series where the Cavaliers should be taking advantage of the fact that the Pistons just don't feel like they're number 1 seed. They should not be struggling with the Cavaliers. And history shows that if you win Game 5, you are more likely to move on in this series. And that's what the Cavaliers are about to do. They're about to win Game 5 unless a miracle happens in 3.4 seconds that are left in that game. So that's where the NBA is right now. We're going to have the Cavaliers, the Knicks, most likely the Spurs unless Wemby elbows another person in the face, and the Thunders in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals.
NHL, we're watching currently. We are watching. I'm watching the overtime matchup, the side-by-side with the Pistons and Cavs. But the Avalanche, who have played like the best team in the NHL all season long, have proven it. They were down 3-1 with less than 4 minutes left. They tied it at 3. We're in overtime right now as I speak. Hopefully, if the Avalanche can win this game, they close out the series, and then they face the eventual winner of Vegas and Anaheim. That Vegas-Anaheim series is a lot of fun. It's absolutely reminiscent of the Lightning Canadian series in the Eastern Conference in the first round. It's going back and forth, back and forth. Anaheim's absolutely putting together a fight against the Vegas Knights. Vegas absolutely, they of course hold the advantage. They are up 3-2. Avalanche just scored.
Nice.
The Avalanche just won this series.
Nice.
You have got to be kidding me. What an absolute showing. This is why Colorado will win the Stanley Cup. This is absolutely mind-blowing. Down 3-1 with less than 4 minutes left in the third period. They tie it. They tie it 3-3, and then they win. And I think it's the 7-minute mark in overtime. Absolutely incredible. Incredible performance.
Yeah.
Good job for Colorado. The Wild are absolutely in shock right now. I would be too. You thought you were about to come in within a game of tying this series, and then you just and then you lose it.
Major collapse by the Wild, but I'll take it.
Wow, absolutely incredible. Real quick, Buffalo, Montreal. I'm still pulling for Buffalo here, but it would be great for the Canadiens to make the Stanley Cup, and then to lose, and you say the Canadiens lost twice in one Stanley Cup, and then Carolina swept Philly. Let's not pretend that was a tough series. Philly's an 8 seed. They didn't really have to do much to get to the second round. Carolina absolutely manhandled Philly in the second round. They're just awaiting the winner of Buffalo-Montreal. What an incredible end to this episode, being able to listen to me yell and scream.
The play-by-play brought to you by JB.
They are going to the Western Conference Finals.
Nice.
Wow.
I think that means I have to go buy a jersey now. I think I set the rule that yeah.
Wow. That was awesome. That was just absolutely awesome. Man, the only thing ruining this moment is that James Harden's being interviewed right next to the screen. I don't want to see his face. But great series by the Avalanche. Great Stanley Cup playoff thus far. Folks, you know where to find us. You know how to watch us. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, argue, take exception to, throw stones. You know exactly where to do it. Manny, what were you drinking real quick in the episode?
I'm going to piss you off. I have a Bubba Secret Skill pancake and bacon whiskey. I know you love the flavored whiskey.
What the hell is that? What is that? Is that Mr. T? Who is that on the bottle?
That's what's his name from Breaking Bad? That's him.
Oh my goodness. Oh geez, the glare made it look like Mr. T. I'm drinking a birthday gift that I got. It is a bottle of Still Austin Rye cask strength,
Nice.
116 proof.
Woo.
And I was drinking this. I was smoking this wonderful Crux, their passport cigar. That ends tonight's episode. You know where to find us. You know how to get in touch with us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay thirsty.
Cheers, everyone.